Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. I wanted to just introduce you to Rush. I have not used this much before. I've only done one project in it. My last project, Desire Paths. I said project, not last video, Desire Paths. I just wanted to share a couple of pros and cons with you about that experience. So I overall really like it. I'm definitely going to be using it for future videos. There was a weird bug where for some reason, and maybe it was because I opened it on my phone or I'm not sure what, but half of my overlays just went to sort of max width. Thankfully there are sort of these, you know, 4 dummy sort of limits to everything. So you can't just put width to whatever you want without actually having to type it in here, right? So you can put 999 if you're a crazy person. But if you try and use this scale, much like with After Effects and some of what Premiere does, it does give you that scale. And in general, this is very much a program for people who haven't really used video editing software before. If you have never done any video editing, this is definitely a good program for you. If you know how to use Premiere, you might also find this valuable because honestly, I don't think I would have done half of the things that I did in this video if I had to do it in Premiere. It is much easier to do things like pan through static images. So I've got a whole bunch of images here, you know, and I've got this sort of pan in and out effect, and this sort of fly left or slide left effect. What is it actually called? What is this called? It's called, so you've got pan and zoom on, and then you've got a transition for this object of nothing. You've got nothing. Swipe, wipe left, obviously. Wipe left, right. So found that really interesting. So another one that I used, which I was amazed by, was these graphical templates. So if you know anything about Adobe and you've worked with After Effects, you know how difficult this would be, right? If I had to spend my whole day making this rainbow and this flower that says "cool story, bro," I probably wouldn't. I'd probably just put black text on a background, and maybe that's classy and cool, you know. But it's also just nice to have a rainbow and a pretty flower that animates sometimes, and that's because Rush has got all of these different templates that you can, you know, go and use, and you can edit the text within them and change the colors. So there's not too much you can do with this in terms of customizing it to yourself, but changing the text and changing the colors, I think works for most people, especially people who might not have any other way of doing that. And this kind of feels to me like, you know, Adobe is really pushing for a similar market to what you see nowadays on the App Store in iOS and in Android, you know, these apps that effectively allow you to make videos on your phone. Having said that, Rush is also a multi-platform device, a multi-platform program. So you can go, okay, let me go into it. It might mess things up a bit, but you know, you can go and edit the same project on your phone, come back, see it on your device. For some reason, it keeps telling me that Gotham Pro is not on my phone. I don't know how a normal person would know even maybe what that is, and how are you supposed to, I don't know how to add a font to my phone, so that's a bit of a weird one. But in general, it, you know, it looks like a decent app. I didn't really use the iPhone app. I used my Mac. But it's effectively the same stuff, right? You've got this bottom drawer here that slides, which isn't also the sliding bottom drawers are really not a good idea for iOS, because on iPhone 10 and above, you've got this, this is actually a gesture. So if you swipe left at the bottom here, what you end up doing is you end up going to your other apps. I know this because we did a user test last year. We had exactly the same kind of interface, and that's exactly what that does, which is a little frustrating. Well, maybe on iPhone 10 they've added more space or fixed that somehow, but it's generally not something that I would have done in the app, so that was a bit of a weird one. You can also see it's got this little progress bar that seems to be uploading to the cloud or doing something there. Very much a live sort of service, you know, uploads to the cloud. You can choose whether you upload your file to the cloud. You can also choose when you make a new project whether you want everything to be copied. Now this is really valuable for folks who might not be super organized when it comes to, you know, creating all their keeping all their files in place. And if you worked with Premiere at all, you may have run into a situation where you've used a screenshot and then you've forgotten that you used that screenshot in the project that you're currently working on, and you think, well, let me clean up my desktop, and all of a sudden you have a piece of offline data in your project and you need to go and find it, and it's just an absolute nightmare. So the option to copy all of your media into a local folder is quite valuable. Now there's no physical file for Rush projects. You basically just have an item on the interface here as you start it up, where it says Design Paths Rush, and then Rush Review, which is this project. As soon as I'm done recording, I will put it in here and I will be editing it, because I really like this program. It's really simple. It's at least half the effort of Premiere. Now it can't do everything. I do really like the graphical templates. I do really like that it doesn't make my computer chug as much. I like, you know, how easy it is to do more advanced things, but things that we've always wanted to do and we see in other videos and maybe want to do ourselves. So I quite like the fact that it was easy enough that I could do advanced things like transitions. Whereas in Premiere, it's difficult enough to find and difficult enough to do sort of key points or keystrokes or whatever the hell they're called, keyframes. Thank you, keyframes. That you don't really do it. You know, if I wanted to do a pan and zoom, right, like we see, blah, 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 blah. Here we go. Here we go. Right. So this little. Let me just turn my sound off. This little piece here where I've got a pan and zoom out, transfer, pan and zoom out, that would have taken at least 3 times as long in Premiere. And so, you know, for those kinds of things, I think it's quite valuable. Really easy to use, not much of a learning curve at all, especially if you've used other programs. So yeah, in summary, if you're using Premiere, think about whether what I've shown you here is enough to switch over, maybe for some of your projects. Give it a go. And if you're new to video, it might be worth looking at as well. A nice kind of, you know, for dummies version of Premiere, which I don't mind. I don't mind being a dummy sometimes. You know, you don't need the most advanced piece of software for the kinds of videos that, you know, these kinds of videos. Or if you're just, you know, editing a Let's Play that you're making, there's no reason that you need to load up a monster like Premiere, which is really heavy and you know, really complicated, when you can just do it in here. Now you do need to use this cutting tool. The cutting tool's a little tricky because they don't use direct tools, and what I mean by that is, you know, you don't select. So in Premiere you select C to select a tool, but they don't have those kinds of tool selections. Instead, what they have is an action. So it says here, split your clip. So you select the clip you want, you put the track head. So there's a track head, it's a track head. Put the track head over there and you hit S, and then it'll cut it for you, which is fine. It's, you know, a bit of a learning curve for me because I'm so used to the concept of tools there. In terms of, you know, effects and everything else, everything is very nicely sort of predefined in a way. So in Premiere and After Effects, you have this tendency for Adobe to sort of give you all the options, and you need to find the most sort of obvious things. So for example, the pan and zoom thing, you need to go through all of the different possible variables in each layer and select position and scale in order to make that pan and zoom work with keyframes. If you want to do the same thing here, it's literally a flick of a switch. It's boom, pan and zoom, and that's it. That's all you have to do. Select pan and zoom on. Why can't I select pan and zoom on? Because it is a video. Maybe let's do it here. There we go. So, and that's going to pan and zoom in within its frame, which is a bit weird, so we won't do that. But you know, you can do that if you like, and you can change the end point. So maybe you want it to like end on hidden like that, which is a bit weird, but let's see how that works. You know, hidden, there we go, like that. So, you know, relatively easy to use that. In terms of audio, I was actually really impressed with the audio options that you get. So auto duck is maybe the most impressive one. So that's, you know, if you've got a music track that you've downloaded from the sort of free YouTube library, or if you've downloaded one of my pieces of music, which you are welcome to use for free for any of your videos, you put it in and then you auto duck. That way, whenever you're speaking, the music comes down, and when you're not speaking, the music goes back up. That way you don't have to play with volume up and down the whole time. Probably a good thing, because in Rush you don't have keyframes. You don't have the concept of, you know, at this time make the volume this amount. You have to set a given volume for the entire duration of the track, and so auto duck is kind of a way to fill that functional gap. You select what type of music, what type of audio it is, whether it's music, voice, or other, and then based on that there's a whole bunch of other things you can do. Like you can say, well, I want to reduce the background noise, I want to balance the sound. So there was a section where I was sort of talking on the other side of the room, so let's make them equal. I want to reduce the echo and the intensity of that, etc. And also enhance speech, which didn't really work for me. I'm not a big fan of enhancing speech like that, but I'm also I also use Logic for, not Logic, I mean Logic Pro, the program. And so I would probably do my editing there. Having said that, you know, the share and export functions are really, really easy. So I exported to YouTube and scheduled and added tags and everything else, and it was really, really easy. Thoroughly enjoy that. And you can export to Facebook and Instagram if you're still on Facebook, and Behance. I am still on Behance as well. You can check me out on Behance and Instagram and Facebook as well. Actually, I do have a Facebook, but I don't post. And you can obviously just share locally. And so I shared this file locally. In other words, I just sort of exported it. And let me show you what that meant for me. I'm being an idiot because it's on my other screen, sorry. So once I had a sort of rough draft of the design parts video, another quick thing I wanted to show you, if you've got Logic, you can then go in and load any MP4 into Logic, and then you can build out a score for that if you want to go as deep as, you know, building out a score for a video where you have, you know, I've got a bunch of things like, you know, whenever there's like a weird thing on screen, or wherever there's like, you know, something exciting or a realization or whatever, I kind of you know, add a little bit to the score, like this epic church choir that plays in this section where I show the sort of final result of the work done at Ohio State University. So, you know, if you are exporting your, if the tool that you're using makes it easy to export, you are more likely to export and use it somewhere else. So I had exported my video, added in some music, and then applied it back into Rush, exported again. Whereas in Premiere, if you're trying to do that, you know, you got to go to media encoder, whatever program, which takes ages to load and takes ages to encode, and yeah, it just wasn't, it's not half as easy as this. So I think the big takeaway is much easier to use, whether you have done video before or you haven't. I would highly recommend. Is a little bit buggy. If you don't have a decent internet connection, you may have some problems if you try and select, share with the cloud. But other than that, a really decent program, especially if you're not doing super advanced things. I think by far the most impressive thing is this graphics section, where you have all of these crazy little templates, where you can just add in, you can add in your own text here, and they have so many of these. It's really impressive. I think I'm definitely going to be making more use of this in the future, because I don't want to spend my entire life in After Effects making stuff like this. Even if you can, like, why would you? If you've got this, it'll work for most people. So there you go. Yeah, so hope that was helpful. Have a great day. And please let me know if there's any other piece of software or any other design or UX concepts that you guys are interested in. Yeah, happy to take suggestions, and thanks very much.